Hi everyone, I'm Belinda and I would like to share with you some information about neurodiversity at work. I'm going to record 3 short videos of about 10 minutes each to share with you different areas that might give you some good food for thought. Part 1, which is today, is a bit of a reminder of what neurodiversity is. So I was very much inspired by this book by Theo Smith and Amanda Kirby on their book of Neurodiversity at Work. And a lot of the content of my slides is inspired through their book. So let's start by what is neurodiversity. People may say that we are all neurodiverse. What that actually means is we are all diverse. Which means we are all different, so nobody's the same. People that we work with all think differently, we see things differently, we sense things differently, and we move differently and do things differently from others, and that's a fact that we need to accept. Some neurodivergent conditions includes ADHD. I've got some strengths. Someone with ADHD brings creativity, energy, the ability to make connection between patterns, very much an ideas person. So ADHD is an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a developmental condition that affects attention, which means in the workplace, maybe somebody might be easily distracted, or they might be hyper-focused on a task of high interest to them. Impulsivity, which means they can maybe speak out of turn or speak or act before they think about it, and also maybe interrupt because they can't wait their turn that easily. And then activity levels is hyperactivity, so it's difficult to sit still for a very long time. There's about between 2 and 7% of children and adults have ADHD with an average of around 5%. ASD, or Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASC, Autism Spectrum Condition, is also a developmental condition that affects communication and social interrelatedness. So Asperger's syndrome used to be diagnosed separate to autism, but now it's considered to be part of ASD or ASC. It's around between 0.5 and 1% of the population has got a ASD or ASC, and this has increased in the past few years, partly because of increased awareness. Some of the challenges for people with ASD or ASC include social communication and social interaction. So, for example, they might take things quite literally and maybe not respond to jokes. They may need additional time to process information before responding. They may appear insensitive or direct, maybe in the workplace, and they might find noisy or busy settings overwhelming, and they might need some time to work on their own in a quiet space. They may also struggle with changes in routine, and they may feel anxious in unfamiliar settings. So these are all important information for us to be aware of in the workplace because of all the change that constantly happen in the business environment. Strengths that people with ASD bring is hyper-focused, they have special interests, and they are very detailed oriented, so they have retention of facts, they are creative, and they've got great analytical skills. The next condition is dyslexia. So this is a developmental condition that specifically affects literacy, like reading, writing, spelling. It is commonly stated that about 10% of the population have dyslexia, and some of the challenges may include filling out handwritten forms. They might be slower at reading information and having to reread it. There could be spelling errors or missing out keywords in the written communication. It could also be difficult to structure written word. written work, sorry. Challenges, remembering things or a series of instructions, and they may find ways, and they might find it difficult to find their way around unfamiliar places. The benefits or the strengths that someone with dyslexia brings to the workplace is creativity, they're outgoing, fun, they're resourceful, and they're entrepreneurial very often. So we can think of Sir Richard Branson, who talks about his dyslexia quite often. He's definitely an entrepreneur in the business world. Dyscalculia, so this is a developmental condition that specifically affects mathematic ability, and about 3.6% of children in the UK is affected by this. Some of the strengths may include being creative, being artistic, great thinkers, and empathetic. DCD, or developmental coordination disorder, is a developmental condition that affects motor skills, so coordination, balance as well. It's also known as dyspraxia in the UK, and it's distinct from other motor disorders such as cerebral palsy or stroke. And between 1.8 and about 4.9% of UK children have DCD. Strengths that someone with DCD can bring to the table is being empathetic, being caring, being persistent, and being creative. TS, so Tourette's syndrome, the most common cause of tics. So they could be simple tics like sniffing or throat clearing, or more complex tics, which are coordinated sequential motor acts or gestures. It's usually inappropriately intense and often repetitive. It is involuntary, it's not done on purpose. It's usually brief, rapid. It could be intermittent and often purposeless, so it doesn't fit the context. It's also commonly associated with ADHD and OCD, which is obsessional compulsive disorder, and the rate for TS is between 0.3 and 1% of the population. However, up to 20% of childhood population can have transient tics, which go away over time. Other symptoms, copying what others say, so what others do, or maybe repeating their last word or part of their sentence. And then a very small percentage, between 10 and 50% of patients would also have inappropriate gestures like swearing, for example, but it's very uncommon. Challenges people with TS face is higher rates of anxiety and depression, and tics worsen when under stress. An example of someone with TS is maybe Lewis Capaldi, the singer, who recently had that challenging time at his concert in Glastonbury. So you might have heard on the news about that. He is obviously a very creative artist. People with TS also have a sense of humor, empathy, and persistence. I will conclude part one of the presentation on diversity in the workplace with this lovely quote from Sun Tzu that really brings it all together and consolidates that there are not more than 5 primary colors, yet in combination they produce more hues than ever been seen. There are not more than 5 cardinal tastes, yet combinations of them yield more flavors than can ever be tasted. So actually bringing all these different talents and diverse thinking together creates something so spectacular that we may never fully, truly appreciate how great it can be. Thank you. See you for part 2.